Hey everybody, I wanted to share this video that I took a few days ago of Rain's first ride. I didn't do a voiceover while I was filming because I needed to be able to focus on what was going on and be very much in the moment with her. So I'm starting just asking her to move around and kind of get a feel for me being up and above her. This wasn't the first time that we had worked with the mounting block and teaching her to line herself up with the mounting block, but it was the first time that we did it without the mounting block being up against a fence to help her understand that I didn't want her to go forward. Once she's lined up with the mounting block, I want to make sure I give her lots of positive reinforcement to make sure she wants to stand still at the mounting block and looks forward to her time standing next to the mounting block. And then I start putting weight on her. You can see how she's kind of wobbly. She didn't expect me to put my weight onto her. I'm just going to let her feel that and check it out. You can see her turning around to check in with me and adjusting her weight so that she's a little bit more stable and can take my weight. You can see her move her front foot a little bit. And all of that is just because she's never been ridden before. She didn't expect me to put all of my weight on her. And so she's got to learn how to hold her body so that she can carry mine. And everything that we do on one side, we also want to do on the other. So here I'm just asking her to step away from the mounting block, which actually can be pretty difficult to do because I give her so much positive reinforcement. When she stood next to the mounting block, she's not really wanting to switch sides. She's like, "Don't you want me to be right here with you?" And then she figured it out. And I'm just doing the same thing on this side. I'm going to lean over her, put my weight on her. And you'll see this time she's a bit less wobbly. She was more prepared for it, and so it didn't surprise her as much. And here I'm going to ask her to switch sides again, back to the side we started with. And you can see again, she's kind of stuck to the mounting block. She doesn't really want to get away from it. And I'd much rather have that problem, have them wanting to stand next to the mounting block, than the opposite problem of having them wanting to avoid it or stepping away when I'm trying to mount. So I just ask her to step her hip over so that she's lined up. And we were at kind of an awkward angle, so I went ahead and sent her around and try to line up better. There we go. And notice how she's already shifting her weight to prepare for taking my weight. Now this is a move I like to do before I go ahead and just put one leg on each side of the horse, because it lets them feel me across their entire back. It lets them take my entire weight. And it's also a very safe way to be on the horse. If she were to go to move off or were to get scared and want to buck or spin, it'd be very easy for me to slide off and get out of the way. Whereas once I swing one leg over, I'm a little bit more committed to staying on. And so that's just another little pre-flight check that I like to do when I'm starting a horse. As you can see here, she even has a leg relaxed. None of this is bothering her at all. And so I feel confident to go ahead and get on her. I ask her to check in with me, make sure she's mentally and emotionally present, not just checked out and standing there, but paying attention to what's going on. And then I go ahead and get on her. And the first thing I do is just hang out. Lots of positive reinforcement. I want her first ride to be a very positive experience, and her confidence is my #1 priority. So I'm going to take the time it takes, make her feel really good about having a human sit on her back for the very first time. So now I'm adding a little bit of a feel on the halter to ask her to bend her face around and shift her weight a little bit. It starts to get the idea down to her feet that I'd like her to move without putting her putting her in a bind by squeezing her or using my legs to push her forward. But by bending her off to the side, I'm just getting her feet off balance a little bit. Here she's checking out my leg. I love the curiosity. If she gets my leg too much, I'll just start wiggling it a little bit. I'm not going to get after her for being curious, but I might just move it around a little bit just to keep her from nibbling on it too much. But it's important to pause and take time for these moments where she's checking in with me and acting curious. I never want to discourage curiosity. Now I'm switching my rope to the other side. Again, we've practiced that quite a bit on the ground. Everything that I ask her to do from her back, I've already prepared her for on the ground. I'm just going to ask her to bend and shift her weight and maybe take a little bit of a step. Here she's being curious again, so I'm going to allow that. If she goes to nibble too much, I'll just wiggle my foot. But otherwise, I allow that curiosity. That's always a positive thing for a horse to be curious. Flip it back to the other side and ask for the bend that way. It's no big deal. I'm not insisting that she move off. I'm just suggesting it by asking her to bend and seeing if we can get a weight shift. There's a little bit. And if not, that's okay. It's no big deal. Again, I'm going to ask her. Oh, she's more ready this time. You can see that back leg getting ready to step. Ask her to bend, shift her weight. See if we can get just one step. Because then this is a big deal for her. She's going, well, you can sit on me, but I don't know about carrying you. And so I'm just going to keep asking for that weight shift and then reward. Good. But I'm rewarding the mind going, not the body. The body always follows the mind. Good. So she took her first step, and so I stop, give her some positive reinforcement, and then ask again. I'm going to turn, and then stop and reward. Just little tiny baby steps, because that's what leads to confidence. No skipping steps, no rushing things. Just tiny baby steps in the right direction. Can you turn your head? Can you shift your weight? Then can you move your feet? And then reward. You can see how her ears are back and on me. They're not pinned back, they're just back and listening, back and focusing on what I'm asking. Shifting her weight. It's a little tricky for her because now she has to balance my weight as well as her weight. And so it's a different sensation for her. She's used to just carrying herself around, but now she has a rider to contend with as well. Asking again for that weight shift and reward. Good. And if she thinks about forward, you can see there that time she thought a little bit about going forward, and I would allow that too. That's what I want in the end, is to ask her to turn a little bit and then for her weight to shift and for her to walk off forward. But I'm also okay with just the tiny baby steps. So I'm going to ask her to shift her weight and then release and see if she can offer forward. And she doesn't feel ready quite yet. She's still getting a feel for me. So I'm just going to accept the little baby steps. You have to take the time it takes in these stages so they have time to think it through and gain confidence. Because her confidence is the number one most important thing. I want her to feel really good about having a rider on her back. I don't want her to feel rushed in any way. There, you can see that back leg. We've thought about stepping up under, and she isn't quite confident enough yet, and that's all right. I'm encouraging her just a little bit with my leg, just to help her out. There we go. And let her check the mounting block out. There's some curiosity again. You never want to discourage curiosity. Still just softly asking for one step at a time, kind of let her figure out her balance. You can see she's not super coordinated yet. And there she decided to step off a little bit. Good. So give her some positive reinforcement, make that feel really good. I'm gonna switch to the other side and see if I can shift her weight from the other side. It's hard to see from this angle, but you can see when I put the rope down that I'm rewarding the thought. She's thinking about turning, and so I'm rewarding her by taking my leg and the rein off, and then I reapply to ask again. And I'm adding just a little bit of rhythm with my rope to help her think about it and take that first step. Then ask again. She's having a little trouble shifting her weight. There we go. Good. And then ask again. But same as on the other side, just one step and reward. She's still figuring out how to get her weight right and shift everything over to be able to carry me in the new direction. Using just a little bit of rhythm with my leg to help encourage her. I find that rhythm works better in these early stages rather than giving them a squeeze, because a squeeze can make them feel a little bit trapped, whereas giving them some rhythm can help encourage movement without getting them bothered or worried. Now she's moving out a little better, but she's very stiff in her hind end, stiff throughout her whole body. She's taking little tiny, very careful steps. That's all right. I just kind of go with her. Just let her get a feel for it. I'm not going to push her to go faster or to do anything other than just softly carry me. Because again, confidence is number one. Her confidence is more important than anything else in this first ride. I step out again. And already her steps are getting a little bit more rhythmic. She still looks pretty tense, but not as tense as she did when we started. There, that head is coming down a little bit. Starting to get a little bit of relaxation. The steps are getting more rhythmic and longer. She's deciding that it's not such a big deal to carry a human around on your back. And when I use my rein, I'm trying to make sure I time it with her feet. She can only move the foot when it's off the ground. And so if I cue her with the rein when she's standing on the leg, she's going to have a lot of trouble. That cue isn't going to make much sense. Whereas if I do it when her leg is off the ground, it's going to make a lot more sense. So especially in the beginning, I try to be really careful with the timing of my cues. Again, that curiosity, you never want to discourage it. It turned into playing with the mounting block. It was a little bit more than just curiosity. And so then I suggested that we walk away. But look how much softer that walk is. She's still a little bit tight, but she's thinking about relaxing. Head down, Moving off much easier. Her head is bobbing down as she walks. Nice and relaxed. And checking my leg out again. I love how much curiosity this mare has. But I'm not making a big deal about where we're going or what we're doing. I'm just letting her get a feel for me. So ideally I would have liked her to walk in a circle around the mounting block, not just to the mounting block. But it's no big deal that she did. We can just try again. She feels the need to make a little bit tighter turn there. So I just help encourage her. Again, timing with that foot. You can see my hand lift kind of up and out when her leg leaves the ground. I didn't quite make it that time either, but that's okay. It's no big deal. It's just an opportunity to practice our steering again. Let's see that timing. So now, now, now. Just helping float that leg around. And making sure my weight is shifted a little more to the left. And there we were able to go all the way around it. And that was a great place to end our session. And so I give her a lot of positive reinforcement, tell her what a good girl she was on her very first ride. Ask her to check in with me. She wants to check out my leg again. Love the curiosity. I'm gonna wait till she's done checking me out, done being curious, and then I'll dismount. And once I dismount, I stick there with her and give her some more positive reinforcement.